And we are live. Today, our guest is Kashif Khan. He is a fellow Torontonian and is also the Chief Executive Officer and founder of the DNA Company, where personalized medicine is being pioneered through unique insights into the human genome. With the largest study of its kind globally, the DNA Company has developed a functional approach to genomic interpretation, overlying environment, nutrition, and lifestyle on the genetic blueprint to create personalized and deterministic health outcomes. Prior to his tenure at the DNA Company, Kashif participated in a number of high-growth startups where he took an active role as an angel investor and advisor. In addition, he ran two successful marketing firms where his client list comprised Canada's top earners and most affluent individuals. From Canada's largest company to small neighborhood businesses, Kashif has advised on business strategy in industries ranging from luxury retail, technology, finance, fine arts, healthcare, tourism, and real estate. He participated in over $300 million in revenue in his retail business before launching consulting services to help others thrive. Growing up in Vancouver, British Columbia, Kashif's drive started from witnessing his immigrant parents' struggles to establish themselves in their new country. Inspired by their ironclad work ethic and resourcefulness, Kashif developed an industrious entrepreneurial spirit from a young age. While his high school peers were languishing in minimum wage jobs, Kashif was hard at work starting his first business. As CEO of the DNA Company, Kashif later learned that his neural wiring was actually genetically designed to be entrepreneurial. He has since made it his mission to build the DNA Company into a business that has an impact and whose success is measured not in dollars earned, but in lives improved. Thank you so much for being here. I love your bio. I can definitely relate to the immigrant parents. We're both Torontonians, and so we're from a city that is blessed with lots of immigrants and lots of immigrant values. Can you kind of talk about that? Like, what was it like growing up?
So it's interesting because I didn't find out until later in life that I have this genetic profile mentally that's referred to as warrior genetics. And what that means is the stress. Everybody deals with stress. Everybody has problems. Everybody has things they're thriving and striving towards. We all cope with those things differently, right?
Mhm.
And so the way that I experience dopamine, let's start there. Dopamine is that chemical that allows you to feel pleasure or reward. So pleasure is like I smell some good food and I want to eat it. And reward is I achieve something good at work. A client of yours lost 20 pounds. Reward, right? So the way I experience that, the receptors in my brain, DRD2 is the name of the gene, they're very sparse. So it's very hard for me to experience that pleasure or
Mhm.
reward when it happens. The metabolization or clearance of it is very fast. So there's another gene called COMT, which is actually important in hormones also, which we'll talk about later, clears it really quickly. So I'm feeling a way down here. It's gone like that. And that leads me to seek reward, right? It leads me to be sort of front lines. Let's do this. Let's get it done type behavior because whatever we did just isn't good enough anymore. I need more. I need more. So there's half of, and this is the question of nature and nurture. So the nurture is, yeah, growing up with no money, with the father that was sick, with them being first generation and trying to establish themselves and the struggle, and then the wiring to then do the right thing in that context and thrive, as opposed to being burdened. And some people may get trauma from that, and they may put them on a completely negative path. So it's
Yeah.
a combination of these two things. This is what we've been studying and learning for so many years now, and it's just a beautiful thing. So here to talk about it.
That's amazing. I can definitely relate. And I relate to some looked at it as, that was their Achilles heel. Oh, my parents were immigrants. And that's why, I
Yeah.
didn't do as well as somebody who was born and raised in a North American country. Whereas we kind of just took it and flew with it and said, no, that's, you know what, I'll take what I need from it and I'm going to do better. And
Yep.
so I can definitely relate to that warrior mindset. I'm excited to see what comes back for my results. But yeah, it's that fight or flight. It's like you're going after it and that's how I get my dopamine as well, is from that reward of achieving more, doing more. Once that one project or task is done, I'm thinking about what's the next one.
For sure. And now imagine if you were wired the opposite. You just mentioned the person that takes it a different way.
Yeah.
What if you had the maximum dopamine set receptors and a very slow clearance? Well, then it's very easy to get satisfied, right? Because the levels are high, it lasts,
Ah,
which means you're not so motivated. Things are already good. So picture the artist that's sitting there enjoying life, playing their
yeah.
piano, and dad saying, "Let's go get some work done." They're like, "I'm good with what I'm doing," right?
And I always struggle to, like, why can't I just be like that? Why
Yeah,
can't I just be satisfied with my 9 to 5 when I was working 20 years ago at Shoppers Drug Mart head office? Like, why couldn't I be happy there? And I wasn't, and I was constantly looking
yeah,
for that next, so we're here to talk about how genes are related to obesity and weight loss, and how can genes affect our ability to lose weight?
sure. And there's so much that we're going to talk about.
I know.
Since we're talking about the brain, we can start there. There's a major area that we see all so much. What we're trying to figure out is you do a really good job of coaching people.
Thank you.
Your programs are amazing. People
Yeah.
have amazing success. What we're trying to say is if we look at the genome, we kind of understand the red flag. What's that one thing, right? That one thing that's maybe unique about what this person needs to do. Also, why do people get stuck? Like I'm doing everything right, but it's still not working,
Yeah.
right? Those are kind of the two areas you can solve if you use genetics, because we're going to find that anomaly that for everybody else wasn't a problem, but for you it is. So
Yes.
using again the brain as an example, we talked about dopamine. There's also serotonin. So serotonin is your mood regulator. It manages anxiety, depression, things like that. But ultimately causes you to either under or over react or react as appropriate for whatever's going on. Funny, laughing, crying. Are you actually reacting as you should be or overdoing it or underdoing it, right? So that's serotonin. Um, when people are dysregulated for serotonin, genetically, we can determine the receptors are a little bit shorter. So they don't manage that mood very well. Put that in today's reality where there's so much stimulus and there's so much constant stress and problems in the way we live. We are not designed for that reality. And so these people end up having a chronic, constant anxiety and stress response, which leads to cortisol, which leads to your body saying, I don't want this. This is not healthy.
This
So
is stressful
it's
for
very
me.
stressful. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's ongoing chronic. So now your body learns every time there's a problem, let's make this person happy. Let's create some hunger. Let's make them lean on food as a coping mechanism. Right. So there's some people that don't even know that they're adding these extra calories that are never recorded in the
Yeah.
code, right? And they perceive it as real. Like I'm actually hungry because your body's creating that appetite to get you happy and out of the stress. And then that's where that could be one person's why, right? Uh, one last thing I'll say about the brain. There's some people that also are more likely to bind trauma. There's a gene called ADRA2B, ADRA2B, which determines your noradrenaline response. And if you're in a negative emotional stimuli, like a God forbid a car accident or a fight, something like that, do you have that experience and kind of move on, or do you hold the grudge? Do you carry that
Mhm.
forward? Which is every time I walk down that street, I kind
I'm
of get
going to
that,
remember.
right? And not only remember, but remember the actual feeling, right?
Wow.
PTSD, it's the trauma that you experience in that moment extends as a decision-making tool the rest of your life. You
Wow.
use that as your recall. And that's why two people talking, sometimes you'll hear, it's not that bad. Like, what do you and the other person's like, no, it is that bad, because they're bringing back all that baggage from the past to that. So now that be in a context where the trigger is constantly there, right? The stress, the emotions, that person, that might be their one challenge. That's why they're eating. That's why they're not going to the gym. That's why they're not catching up with their trainer, because the trainer makes them feel the pain and the trauma, right? So that could be the one thing that's blocking them from success, and they don't even know that it's happening because they perceive it as real.
And then, so you're saying through once we can determine those genes that could be affecting how we even perceive the whole experience
Yes.
of diet and weight loss, like, forget about doing it. How are we going to get to even that place where we want to do it? And so what you're saying is that, then we can move on to, well, if we know that this is the issue, we can now train the person to maybe think differently, or coach the person, or get them out of that
Yeah.
trauma loop where they keep replaying it and refeeling it, and give them the proper techniques and training so that they can move past it and get to a place where, and that's, I feel like that's a big part of our job. You
Yeah.
know, when our salespeople get on the phone, they're having to convince at different rates, different levels, you know, and we don't know what's happened in their past or that's preventing them, but we just hear this every type of reason, and we don't know where it's stemming from, and I don't think even the client knows where it's stemming from. So that, yeah, that alone is going to prove to be very helpful for people to at least figure out, okay, you know what, if this is what keeps playing in my loop, what can I do? Because I genuinely, people want to eradicate their their weight, their disease, their, you know, whatever it is, but it's like that failure to launch is what's preventing a lot of people from taking that the first step, which is calling me.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there is that gap of information, and that's what I'm trying to kind of, with your company's help and with yourself, like, how can we, you know, package up that missing information and give it to the clients so that they can figure out, okay, what is my proper, you know, action plan that fits me? Because we do a whole, but like, you know, my program, it's like a whole approach. We're attacking the entire lifestyle. And so we'll do calls on, for example, about atomic habits, literally about the whole book. And I will just, but it's, some people don't need that. Maybe perhaps they need something else.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some people that need more structure. Some people need less structure. So what,
Yeah.
what
Maybe
are the
that's not
problems?
the issue. Maybe it's not the habit that's their
This
issue.
might not be the issue. It's like I burn out, I procrastinate, I overdo it, I underdo it.
I
All
get
of that is
anxiety when, you know, I get anxiety when I go to the gym, or I, you know, whatever, or when I know that I'm limited on food, I get anxious, or
yeah. And now imagine if somebody gave you your brain map and said, here's how you think, right?
mhm.
And not only you, but also your coach.
Yes.
Here's how the person thinks. And now the outcome can be so much better. We do this internally with our patients. You know, we always start with the brain to understand how they think and teach them
Yeah.
how to think, because a lot of people are in denial about certain behaviors. And when they
Mhm.
start to realize that, oh, my neurochemicals actually work this way because of my genes, they're like, ah, that's why I don't get along with that person. Oh, that's why that person, you know, things become real. And then it's very easy to deal with. So, you know, so that's kind of like, here's this amazing neuroscience that's never been applied in weight loss. But then there's the basics. There's the basics of like, should I be on a keto diet? Should I be vegan?
Yeah.
Should I, you know, what am I, should low carb, high carb? All of that stuff is genetically driven. So in the nutrition plans you put together are highly nutritious. So usually you're taking somebody out of what they don't understand into something much better. That can then be personalized to say, well, the
Yes.
ApoA2 gene determines how well do I use saturated fat as fuel. Should I go on a keto
Exactly.
diet?
Yeah. Keto, veganism, like, I truly believe, but, you know, I've never had the data to back it up, that certain people do well with certain types of diets. And that's why, and that's another thing that people need to know about themselves. And rather than trial and error, I've done trial and error for the past 25 years. But
Yeah,
I don't think people have that time and patience to dedicate to their own personal journey to figure out what diet is perfect for them. So how can genes tell us more? Will they tell us specifics like that I would do well on a high protein and a low carbon?
for sure. So every macro and micronutrient, so macro fat, carbs, starches, micro vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, right? There's genes that metabolize each one of those, and they're different genes. So the ApoA2 gene is what your body uses to metabolize fat. So if you have a not so good version of that gene and you go on keto, you might feel good in the first 2, 3 weeks, but six,
Yeah,
7 weeks into it, you're going to get sluggish. Your body's going to get tired. You won't want to get out of bed because your body can't use that fuel efficiently,
got
right?
it.
So then there's your starch response. So everybody's told low carb, right? I agree, low sugar, right? Like everybody should get inflammatory foods out, but there's some
Yeah,
people that actually do really well on starches. Their starch metabolism pathway is really good. there's a lady we were dealing with in Toronto who works out as a not a professional, but she competes like kind of leisurely and like
Yeah, like bodybuilding
yeah,
shows.
bodybuilding,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was
And
my background.
yeah, so she
Yeah,
went off of carbs and starches and she felt
yeah,
horrible,
yeah.
right? And so we looked at her genes and she's an amazing starch metabolizer. Her body requires it as fuel.
So she's okay.
She's okay.
That's
Then
incredible.
it really was an incredible thing for her because she was struggling. She had no energy. She couldn't put on mass. She couldn't put the muscle
Yeah,
on. Flip the switch on that thing and she feels amazing. Then I can't tell you how many women we've dealt with that they come with hormone problems and
yeah,
brain problems and mood issues, and when it comes down to it and we really drill in, everything changed the day they became vegan.
yeah,
So I'm not saying that nobody can be a vegan. Yes, there are people that can, but for the most part, from what we've seen genetically, it doesn't work. And it
yeah.
doesn't work because if
I
you're
agree,
yeah, your protein source.
especially for postmenopausal women.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. What it does to your hormones does not work, right?
No.
So there's some people, there's a gene called FUT2, so FUT2, that produces the enzymes that break down the lentils, beans, chickpeas, legumes, all your protein sources. And this is why some people, when you go eat your bowl of hummus at a Lebanese restaurant, you get bloated after,
Big time.
right? And then you're not even like, if you have it for lunch, you probably can't eat dinner that day because
Yeah,
you're just so bloated. This is why, because most of us don't efficiently make the enzymes that are required for that diet.
yeah.
And now what are you going to do? Not have protein, right? And just fall apart and get frail and die early? That's really what's going to happen. So,
Mhm.
but again, this is personalization. So I'm not saying carte blanche for everybody. I'm saying that for most people, but there are a few people that do well, most don't. So then you get into the micronutrients. So there's some people, vitamin D, 22,000 genes that make up your genome. 2,000 of them require adequate vitamin D levels to express properly. So 10% of your human instruction manual and your biochemistry of your body is dependent on this one thing. And most of us, I mean, you're in a better spot now when it comes to sunlight, but if you were still in Toronto, you would not be getting sun right now.
Yeah.
And so why do we have the seasonal mood disorder and the winter blues? It's
Mhm.
not a winter problem, it's a vitamin D problem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
10% of what's going on in your body needs this one thing. Now, the genetics of vitamin D is much more complex than all the other macros and micros. All the others, one gene turns that thing into what you need.
Okay.
Vitamin D is 3 genes, and there's a reason why. Our ancestors spent a lot of time in the sun.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time outside.
They were all agricultural, working, moving
Yeah.
outside, right?
There wasn't anything to do inside. There was work to be
Exactly.
done
Yeah,
outside.
inside is like sleep and eat. That's it, right?
Yeah, sleep and
We're
wake
always
up.
outside. And now it's where we need to figure out ways to get vitamin D. Their bodies were trying to mitigate that overdose of vitamin D they were getting, right? So
Yeah.
the gene pathway looks like this. There's a gene that converts D2 into D3 to get it into your blood. So I'm in the sun, D2 get turned into D3, the active form that I actually use. There's another gene that then transports it to the cell where you actually need it,
Mm.
right? There's a third gene that binds it at the cell. And most people that we've seen aren't doing well for any one of these three,
Okay, all
right?
three are
Yeah.
lacking.
Yeah, so some people do well. Some people are in one place here or there. Some people, all three, they're doing well, but the majority aren't because we weren't designed for our current reality of zero sunlight, zero time outside.
Yeah,
So
which is
this
a big problem.
big problem. So this
Yeah.
is one thing where even if you fix this one thing,
Yes.
drastically will affect your weight loss journey because your systems will start firing properly. Those nutrients that you're so good at helping people figure out will actually be
Get
absorbed
absorbed.
properly.
Yeah, better.
Hormones are balanced properly. Your brain is operating at good levels. You have the vitality, energy to do what you need to do at the gym because your body is like balanced now. So take this away and everything falls apart.
Yeah.
And that could be
Wow.
the one little
One thing, and I would say majority of my clients
yeah.
are vitamin D deficient. Just from, we try to get them to go to their doctors, get their test results, and that's usually the case that everybody needs a vitamin D supplement.
Yeah.
That so that's good to know. What would you say is the biggest misconception when it comes to weight loss and hormones?
Well, We need another hour just for that.
I know.
So hormones, particularly for women, is, I would say, probably the number one area where we see change where nobody was working on it. And what is the problem? When it comes to hormones, there's an assumption that women are estrogen, men are testosterone. It's nothing like that. We
Yeah,
have the
we
exact
have
same
both.
cycle.
Yeah.
Women have a monthly cycle, men have a daily cycle, but it's the
Hmm.
same cycle. Progesterone, or sorry, starts from cholesterol. Cholesterol makes your progesterone. Progesterone makes your testosterone. Testosterone makes your estrogen. So, but in that system, there's different rates at which you do, different speeds at which you do these jobs,
Hmm.
and there's different qualities of hormones. So, some women, that last step of convert testosterone into estrogen, the CYP19A1 gene, they have a really fast version of it. So, they really fill this estrogen bucket to a heavy level. So, that woman is having a heavy duty signal of store fat, be ready for fertility, let's call it, right? That body is more, that's what the hormone is driving it towards. Beautiful hair, beautiful skin, but your mood is going to be more variable, and you're going to have a very difficult time burning fat. You're not going to see your six pack.
Yeah.
Then your hormone, that estrogen, before your monthly cycle, gets converted into a metabolite.
Hmm.
2-hydroxyestrogen is the good stuff that you want. 4 and 16 hydroxy are toxic, and some women go in these buckets. So if you're estrogen dominant and you're estrogen toxic, the byproduct is toxic. Not only are you storing fat because of all that estrogen,
Yeah.
you're also storing fat because of the toxins. Your body protects you. It knows that toxins are not good, that they cause inflammation. So one
Yes.
of the coping mechanisms, it will actually store fat to
To
deposit the toxins,
protect.
right? And so just this one thing for so many women is that area where your hormones determine your body type,
Yes.
right? So if you have a very specific set of hormones that are pointing to making this, but your goal is somewhere way over here, you're going to be constantly frustrated and disappointed.
Hmm.
Now, there's two options. Either realign your goal to more like who you are and
Yeah.
be the best version of that,
Exactly.
or understand that in order to get all the way over here, you also have to work on the hormones. That might mean supplements to block things or supplements to add things. You have to work on that independent of the exercise and food.
Yeah. And not doing anything at all and just fighting your body using the wrong,
Yeah.
approach to, if you want a super athletic build but you have a lot of estrogen, it's not going to happen. You're going to have curves, you're going to have a butt, and then the vice versa. If you're super athletic build, super lean, you have a lot of testosterone, you put on muscle easily, you're not going to get that fat that you want to, have big curves. So I see that a lot. A lot of women try to fight with their body. Not that, for me, I strongly believe that genetics don't play a huge role in weight loss, but we'll get to that. Um, uh, what happens to your hormones as you try to lose weight? What ends up balancing out? What good things happen?
So
And that, and the hunger.
your fat stores estrogens also. So as you're burning fat, you're releasing estrogens into your body, which then causes your body to want to store more fat.
Yeah.
It's difficult for women to get there. There's plateaus, and that's why this is why I believe that the journey has to be sort of, it's got to be a long-term goal. It's not
Yes.
which switch do I flip over tonight? That's not the way it works, right?
We had that discussion yesterday. We're like, it's a 2-year journey.
Yeah, it is.
It's a 2-year journey
Yeah,
from, because the weight loss goal is one thing,
yeah,
maintaining it is another, and
yeah,
then developing enough muscle mass to not
exactly.
bring on that fat again is a whole other year in itself.
Yep.
So yeah, go
And
ahead.
now there's a new identity. You truly are a different person.
Yes.
But there's a lot of stuff that, a professional like you needs to manage along the way. If you're burning fat to get rid of it, which is now adding estrogen into your system to trigger your body to store more fat, and then you get disappointed. Well, I lost 5 pounds and now I gained 2 back, but I didn't change anything.
Yeah,
Right. So that's part of the journey. You're
it
gonna
is.
go have ups and downs, right? And
Mhm.
but next week you're gonna lose 5 again, and then you're gonna add 2 again. And
Yeah.
you have to let your body do it the way it does it. But understanding all that gives you a sense of relief. Like, here's how my hormones actually work, right? Then there's, a lot of people, and I know you work on this in a big way, don't understand how hormone disruption and environmental toxins are causing a problem. So almost everything we're now exposed to
Everything.
is a hormone mimic, meaning that when it enters your body treats it as estrogen. Something as simple as plastic. If
Yeah.
you wore a blue COVID mask for 2 years, go get a microblood analysis, and I can guarantee you there's going to be blue flecks of plastic in your blood.
In your body.
And you're going to see that your body treats that as estrogen.
Yeah.
If you're on birth control pill for 5-10 years, you're adding estrogen. If you're using a Teflon coated frying pan, if you have pesticides in your lawn that you breathe every day, if you go golfing 4 days,
Body creams, toxic soaps,
all this stuff,
cosmetics,
right?
so much perfumes.
Just understanding what is around you that's
Yeah.
a hormone disruptor or mimic.
Yeah.
Knowing what to do about your water, your food, your containers, your everything, because you're going to do all this work.
Yes.
And you're going to struggle so hard.
And you're going to have all these scented candles, I tell the ladies, and conventional cleaning products are a big one. And they're being absorbed right into your hands, into your bloodstream.
Yes.
It's mimicking estrogen.
Yeah. So if somebody offered you, okay, go do this 1 week routine, and you're going to get 5 as a result, whatever 5 means.
Okay.
Right? Or go do this 1 week routine and you're going to get 25 as a result. I have a secret hack for you. This is what we're talking about. Is most people don't get access to this information, and they go do the food and exercise.
Yep.
And they slowly get there, right?
Yeah.
Versus all of what we're talking about here in terms of environmental and hormone disruptors. And if you add those hacks, you highly accelerate the benefit and journey.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. So, but again, understanding what is your body calling for, because there are women that are listening here today that are going to be missing some key detox genes. And it's not even about what version or how good do I do this job in your glutathione pathway. So glutathione is the system that sort of finds toxins in your blood, sends them to the liver to metabolize. So mold, chemicals, if you walk into a factory and you breathe the chemicals, some people don't even notice. Some people get a headache right away.
Jogging outside.
Yes, you live downtown, jog outside, you're breathing in pollution as you're in a highly stressed oxidative state, and you're taking this stuff in. So there's variable outcome there and variable experience. Some people say, I don't mind chemical smells, and some people say, I smell it and I'm done for the day.
That's me.
Me too.
Any strange smells, anything chemically like cleaning supplies, I'm running the other way. Perfumes, I can't. Scented cars.
Yeah. So now we can determine genetically how well is your first line of defense sort of at the lungs operating. So when you breathe things in, like you were just talking about, how good do you block that from entering your bloodstream? And it sounds like you don't do that so well.
Yeah.
We can also determine at the gut, the first line of defense of the gut, how well do you do that? It's possible with the genetics of the gut to have a completely missing glutathione gene. It's called a copy number variation, meaning how many copies of the gene do you get? It's possible to have 0, right? Now, once the things, if they are getting past here and past here because you're not doing a good job of blocking, then there's another set of genes inside called GSTT1 that are the traffic cops getting rid of whatever got in, and you might not be doing well there. So we can now very easily predict what your habits need to be.
Yeah.
But we also can predict what supplements maybe you need to take, or what additional sort of training you need with your coach in terms of it's not just about food, but it's also about understanding chemicals and toxins, et cetera, et cetera. It becomes highly personalized at that point, because this may be your why. This may be the thing. I just don't deal with toxins well, and I golf 4 days a week, and I breathe in pesticides for 4 hours at a time, and I can't lose these last few pounds. I don't know what's going on.
I 100% strongly agree.
Yeah.
Because what happened? Decline. What happened? Oh, there we go. Sorry, I lost you. I 100% agree, because sometimes we're sitting there wondering, like, we'll have these massive breakthroughs through people, but because I'm my program's very serious. You got to be ready to do it, because I'm completely taking apart your entire lifestyle. But it's a trial and error. I don't know exactly what I'm attacking for each individual person. I just know that I'm taking everything, their diet, their lifestyle, their foods, their, teaching them everything about it. And then it's just this approach that where they apply everything all at once and they see these massive breakthroughs happening. So I think that this will just further, so with the tests, you do the test, the saliva, you send, and I think we should definitely do a follow-up podcast when I get my results and I go
Sure,
through
yeah.
it with one of your with one of the genome experts.
Yeah, let's do that.
But I think that, yeah, that's something that people, if you're going to redesign your life, you need to know everything there is. If you need to know if, yeah, you need to, gut out all. And I think it's really important. Like, I'm excited to do it for my children because I
Yeah.
want to know, what exactly, like, are they as sensitive as me when it comes to chemicals? How careful do I have to be with them? And, soaps on their body. I've told you I don't use soaps on their body, but that's because I'm just being overly cautious of what's entering in their body. So, no, I think it's all, I think that anybody listening is going to now consider that when it comes to diet and weight loss, nutrition and exercise, there are so many other variables that we have the technology now, we have the research to back it up, that all this matters. And that's why I feel like people are still taking a very archaic approach, a very, conventional, I'm going to follow this online thing that has been doing things the same way for 50 years. And giving them these foods from a package and not taking into consideration all these other variables that are going to make a huge difference. And that's what I've always felt why my program worked so well, is because we're taking in so much more, their habits, how they think, what does their surrounding look like is a big part of it. Like, I'm sure you heard of that study when they moved the water to the cash register, people started drinking more water, right? At the hospital. Like, so things like that, like redesigning your lifestyle and what it supports. And knowing these things is just going to help you determine, what it is exactly that I need to change in my life. So let's talk about genetics. I have strong thoughts on genetics and weight loss and how it affects people, but how do genetics play a role in weight loss, in your opinion?
So I don't think that, so right now, the US government is saying, there was actually a story on 60 Minutes about 3 weeks ago saying that weight loss or weight gain, obesity, is a genetic issue, meaning that your lifestyle and environment don't matter. They said it's
you can't fight it.
Yeah, they're saying that if your parents are obese, that you have a 50 to 85% likelihood of being obese. Now, that statistic might be true, but what they're attributing, right? They're attributing it to, because they're obese, genetically you got something that you're now up there. So it's like a prescription, a diagnosis.
Is there a gene, an obesity gene?
So there's many genetic variants that point to obesity, but all of them are things that you can manage with environment and life.
Your lifestyle. Just like cancers, just like most diseases, most metabolic diseases are lifestyle.
Exactly. Less than 5% of cancer is actually innate. 95% is developed because of poor choices.
Exactly.
Right? So now, as an example, there's a gene called FTO, which signals from the stomach to the brain, satiety. I'm done.
Yes.
And some people have the bad version of that, so we call it the obesity gene. There's another gene called MC4R that signals satiety of the palate, the mouth, that I don't need that wow factor. And some people have a version of that. Now you combine that, and genetically, that person is leaning towards obesity. But we have many, 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 many people we dealt with that are not obese with that exact profile. The difference is that they've understood how to plate their food.
Exactly.
They've understood that they need to create that satiety hack. They need to
changed how their mother cooked. They don't cook like their parents did.
Yes, yeah. They purged the pantry, got rid of everything, and replaced it with what their body actually needs. So what you find in that statistic of you're more like 50 to 85% more likely, yeah, those people that were obese probably did not promote a healthy lifestyle, probably did not exercise, probably had garbage food in their fridge, probably put you to sleep by putting you in front of the TV. So
Yeah, nobody was cooking at home. Nobody was walking after. There was no emphasis on activity and
yeah,
exercise. That's a lot of households. They don't even know where to start, or there isn't the money to do the extracurricular, and they don't really know how to go about it, or it's a lack of resources, education. It's so many different variables again that
yeah. And that's where it's the statistic is probably true, but not for the reason they're saying. So
exactly.
there's many, we talked about many reasons here. We talked about hormones, we talked about your brain, we talked about how you break down certain macronutrients. Each one of those genetic things could lead to weight issues, but every single one of them is actionable. It's
Mhm.
more the opposite. Understand your genome to know exactly what your body's doing so you can make the right choices. Not you're probably going to make the wrong choices and become obese. Well,
Yeah.
tell me what the right choices are.
Just
Show me.
just because.
Just because, yeah, it's not at all the way things are, and this is the way, unfortunately, that all chronic disease is being spoken of. Diabetes, cancer. Oh, diabetes is in my family. No, insulin resistance is in your family. The genes that metabolize insulin and having a pantry full of,
Overeating
yes,
is
overeating and
in your
eating at the
family.
wrong times. It's just it,
Not understanding that there needs to be time in between meals for
yes,
digestion, so I think, yeah, people are just
they don't know. And so now one thing that I hear when we're talking to people like this, well, there's two things I'm going to tell you. One thing is that, oh, but the good stuff is so expensive. I can't afford it, right? And what we tell those people back is that you eat too much. When you
that's
have
that's
when
what
you have
my
nutrient dense
argument.
food, right? If you have nutrient
You will
dense
be
food,
full.
yeah, you'll be full
Yep.
quickly, because a fraction, and you probably don't need 4 meals a day. You maybe need two, right? You probably need to start fasting a couple days a week, and
Mhm.
you don't need the snacks in between. Your body needs to be hungry in between meals, so you don't
Yep.
understand the volume. So when people understand and actually try that for a week or two or three, and they get used to it, they realize that this nutrient dense food that I'm now buying provides me satiety very quickly.
Oh, yes. And that's one of the first things that we see in the
Yeah,
program is, and that's also our argument is when people say to me, I can't afford the program, I can't afford to eat that way. And I say to them, if you're in a situation where you lack structure in your current life and you're eating at the rate of what your weight gain is, you're spending a lot of money
yeah,
in food and in unnecessary food and the wrong foods and processed foods and like constantly filling up your pantry with those items instead of putting the time into creating foods that when paired together create satiety
yeah,
and they fill up your stomach. We have this comparison slide of foods with high fructose corn syrup are going to fill you up 10% of your stomach. So the
right,
receptors don't go off in your brain saying I'm full because your stomach's only 10% full. Take that same amount of calories in broccoli and all the receptors go off
yeah,
in your stomach and saying you're full. So 1 pound of broccoli, 2.99,
yeah,
or you're eating. And I use this example of when I was in university, me and my husband, boyfriend at the time, he'd always have these frozen pizzas in the freezer. Little did I know they were full of high fructose corn syrup. He would need two of those to be satisfied. Each one
right.
was 2,000 calories. So, and
Wow.
actually, I have a great story of my son. So, when I was building my studios, I was pregnant, very busy, distracted. And my husband and my mom were at home taking care of my son. He was 1 year old. And I came home one day and they were like, oh my gosh, Julius is so hungry. He just had 4 granola bars in a row. And I saw red. I was like, what? And that's when it hit me. That's kind of what that developed my whole children's program was what is in that food
Yeah,
that triggered him to be so unsatisfied with one. Each one is 90 calories. For a 1 year old boy, he had almost 400 calories in one sitting
yeah,
because there was nothing was going off saying you're full. And that's what high fructose corn syrup damages that receptor over time, right? So
Yeah.
that was the last day he ever had anything from a box. And that's when I wrote my cookbook for children to replace all pantry snacks. So that's it. That's right there. The example of,
Yeah.
if you're not aware and on something that is going to provide you satiety and you're on the right volume foods, you're going to be hungry. You're going to overeat. You're going to want 2 cheeseburgers in a row at the
Yeah.
drive-through, which is, yes, I get it. It's $2.99, but how many do you need? You're going to be
Yeah.
hungry an hour later.
Yeah. And now there's the second thing we hear. The first thing we hear is that about cost and volume. The second thing we hear is, oh, you're telling me not to eat starches. You're not telling me not to eat pasta. You're telling me not to eat rice. But my ancestors ate that for 1,000 years.
Yes.
But they weren't sick. Then we tell them, okay, where are you from? I'm from
China.
Beijing. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
from China, right? And my ancestors ate rice. Then
Yes.
I show
Agreed.
them, you take rice out of the farm, it has a hull on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has a fibrous hull that surrounds the white kernel.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all the fiber and nutrition is. The internal kernel has the exact same molecular structure as sugar. It's literally just sugar. So now what happens is, in order to ship it globally and make it last, that fibrous hull doesn't last, it rots. So they remove it.
Ah,
And then they dry the white kernel, which is why you have to soak and boil your rice,
water.
right? And you're just eating the internal kernel, so you're not eating
So it's
what your
pure sugar.
ancestors ate, right? They didn't eat that; they ate the actual full thing. So guess what happens when they grind away the brown hull and remove it? Guess what happens to that hull? They sell it as a diabetes supplement.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's removed from the rice. Mother Nature already
We're
makes
getting
everything.
ripped off then.
Yeah, it's already perfect as it is, the food, but we change it for economics. How do I store this
Exactly.
benefit, right? And now the thing that made it healthy is removed and again sold as a supplement. So you can take this example in most foods and
Yeah,
in movie food.
pasta, the
Yeah,
same thing. The way they grew it, the wheat that they used, the field that it came from, the soil that it was grown in,
yeah,
does not compare to the highly processed pasta you're getting in a box
yeah.
in North America, unfortunately.
The wheat plant used to be, I think it's like 6 feet tall, and now it's 18 inches, right? It's been built for a different purpose. It's highly glutinous. So there used to be um, 10,000 different types of grains, like
Of grains,
many,
yeah.
many, right? And now we only focus on the highly glutinous ones because that's the luxurious feeling that we want. That
Yeah.
soft, fluffy nonsense, which is not bread. It's no longer bread. So again, and when you say my ancestors ate bread, I have pictures of people in ancient Rome eating bread. Yeah, that's not what you're eating is not what they ate.
No, they did. Yeah, unfortunately, and they didn't sit around after their meals.
Yeah,
They didn't they weren't as sedentary as we are. I mean, come on. It doesn't get more sedentary than a North American lifestyle.
yeah,
The Zoom meetings and the computers and the, jobs at home, like everyone is guilty. If you're not going out of your way to do your walks and your steps and get active,
yeah,
that food is sitting in you as well, and it's
yeah,
not being digested properly. We know now the statistics for taking a walk after a meal and what that does to your blood sugar.
yeah,
So, and that's what I truly feel. We do a talk on the blue zones and what differs from why it's their lifestyle. There's nothing special. There's no special potion in these blue zone areas. It's just how they live,
yeah,
what they're, how they cook their food, what they're eating. Little to no zero sugar in most of these areas, zero.
mhm,
And everything is seasonal, mostly fruits and vegetables. Protein meats are, few times a month, if that. So yeah, I think that we tell people, eat like your ancestors did, but the leafy greens that they ate, so to
yeah,
speak.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
I
and that's where is our DNA is designed for the belief our body doesn't know that the world has changed, right?
yes.
So we are designed for what our ancestors did.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're not doing that. And
Nope.
this is why everyone's so sick. Obesity wasn't real 200 years ago.
No.
Obesity was like a luxury for a king,
Yeah.
right?
Who just, was importing sugar and
Yeah.
chocolate and making it, into these glorious desserts. It was a
Yeah.
luxury.
It was a luxury. Otherwise, nobody had extra weight. And you have now, I think the CDC is saying less than 5% of Americans are actually metabolically healthy now. So 95%
Wow.
are, call it pre-diabetic.
Yep. I see it even in the average Joe is walking around, looks normal, but you can see that they've got the weight around the gut,
Yeah.
which is probably crowding their organs as well. So it's there. You see the Diet Coke in the grocery carts like
Yep.
crazy. The grocery carts I could watch all day because you see where what people are, what they're going to, what they're still buying, and it's
Yeah.
unfortunately a lot of process. So a lot of work, Kashif, for you and I to work on and do in our future. I'm like I said, I'm very excited to do the test and go through it with you guys. I'd love to, do this again. I think that we just skim the surface of so many different things that I think we can just help people get more information on.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to see you again.
Be a pleasure. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great day. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And thank you, Kashif.
Pleasure.
Have a good one.